Good afternoon, and welcome to the Design Leaders Podcast. Every day, I speak with candidates looking to grow in the world of design, development, and construction. I also speak with market leaders at the peak of their career who regularly talk about mentorship and helping the next generation of leaders in their development. This podcast is for those people hoping to learn what the next step in their career could look like. Today, I'm here with O'Connell Robertson, President and CEO, Amy Jones. Amy leads the firm's corporate vision and strategy development. Amy first joined O'Connell Robertson in the late 90s and sees her most important role in ensuring the firm's talented staff are supported and inspired. Amy, I really appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I always start these podcasts similarly. I want to learn a little bit about you and your background, especially in this series, which is more about the non-traditional route for those in architecture. So if you could, tell me a little bit about your background and how you got your start in the industry.
Sure. Thank you. And thank you, Jakey, so much for reaching out to me and asking me to join your show. Super excited to be here. As you mentioned, I joined O'Connell Robertson in the late 90s. I've been with the firm over 25 years, and I got into the industry as a marketing director. So I really didn't know anything about the design industry. My background is in communications and marketing, and the company wanted growth. They were looking to increase their reach, their name recognition, and we're looking for their first full-time focused marketer communicator. That role for me grew into business development, and then eventually a project executive role was added to my position. And then my role expanded over time to providing leadership for all business development, marketing, communications, community engagement. We added an office in the San Antonio region after having been in Austin, Texas for 50 years. And then I became a principal and a shareholder of the firm in the early 2000s, in around 2004. And I distinctly remember, sometime 2006, I was having dinner with the CEO at the time, and he led a conversation with me asking about my future interests. And what did I think about being the president someday of the firm? And of course, I hadn't thought about it yet. So he planted the seed in my mind fairly early in my career. And then over time, I would say he mentored me and he supported me, and, helped me to believe and see the opportunity that I had for growth, as he did with a lot of people within the firm. In 2016, I became president as part of a planned leadership transition that evolved to president and CEO in 2020. In the CEO role, I lead, as you mentioned, our corporate strategy and vision. I guide talent and people issues, and I manage the finance and operational activities, while I continue to provide strategic direction of the firm's marketing and business development.
Interesting. Now, you named a few dates there, or a few years there, 2004, 2006, 2016, big year to become president, and then more recently in 2020. Other than those big kind of promotion style moves, what are some key milestones or experiences that have helped shape your career path?
Oh, I love that question. When I began participating in the interview process to win work, I think that was a significant shift. It says, that you're someone who the company is willing to put in front of prospects and other people externally. It showed that I understood the business and the win strategy. And it was also, it was also connected to the fact that I had important relationships with the prospect or the client that we were going to be in front of. And so for me, people began to see me differently, I think, in the firm once they saw that happening. I was seen differently by firm leaders, but also the technical staff. And so I think that's significant. And I think in any design firm, that can be a pivotal moment for a young architect or a young engineer when they see that they're being asked to sort of stand up and communicate in front of clients or prospects on behalf of the firm, it shows a considerable amount of trust that the firm leadership is going to have in that individual. So that was a big one.
Nice segue there with the notion of trusting the individual and kind of having that relationship with more senior individuals. Who are some key role models that have had a significant impact on your career?
So, of course, internally, the previous CEO, Rick Burnite, he was our CEO for 14 years. He was with the firm for over 30 years, and he was the consummate architectural firm leader. Most would believe, as a registered architect, a specialist in healthcare design. He was our CEO, our CFO, our COO. As many firms that are mid-sized regional firms like ours, there's a hierarchy and a real clear, obvious leader. What most people didn't know is that he was also such a smart businessman. He really studied the business side of running a company and growing a firm. And he taught me so many things. Prior to Rick, Jerry Hammerlin was a partner in this firm, and he was a business developer. He had an architecture background, but he also led the firm's business development, and he actually hired me. We knew each other from Chamber of Commerce involvement, and he saw that I might be somebody who could bring a different perspective into the firm. And so there was Jerry. But then I would also say there are people outside of the firm that were role models or mentors to me. And, there was a woman named Allison Pierman, who was a leader in the Austin community for a long time. And she worked in private business, big companies, worked for AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, a big tech firm. But I admired her leadership style. She led many community boards and was someone that I was close to. And then a gentleman named Sandy Dochin, who was a vice president at the Chamber of Commerce here, worked for IBM for a number of years, very involved in the region from a leadership standpoint. And he taught me so much about sort of service leadership, servant leadership, service leadership, and how to engage with many different people and kind of serve in a leadership role.
I think just to that point, as a recruiter who spends so long on the outside of the industry looking in, when I am tasked to find senior strategic leadership style positions, the one term that does get often used at the moment is that servant leadership type, someone who is there to, find the success of their colleagues, of their employees, and set them individuals up in the best possible way. So I think for anybody listening, that servant leadership style of leadership is definitely something to take on board. One thing that I didn't include in the last series that I want to include in this series is challenges and lessons learned. And obviously, as someone who spent so long in the built environment, but someone who's not an engineer and not an architect, I imagine that you will have faced some challenges in your career. So, Amy, what are some of the more significant challenges that you faced in your career, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Certainly. Yes, I've had some challenges. And I think no matter what they were, one thing that I had to do was sort of stop and look at what was the hurdle in front of me and try to understand what it was that either I didn't know yet, or whether it was a technical piece of information or an individual that I was not familiar with or connected to, and how could I learn about it. So, there's an assumption that I would have to be an architect or an engineer to lead this firm. I'm surrounded by architects and engineers, lots of people who are so very smart and expert in their areas of discipline. And so what I learned was talk to them, learn from them, and then allow them to take the front center stage when it's a technical issue and support them in presenting that information. So I would say that has been a challenge. It was a challenge for me when I shifted into the president role and then the sole CEO role. to deal with all the people challenges. My role throughout my career was very external until I became the president of the firm. And the idea was that it would stay very external and I would be able to just do that work as the president. But so many of the issues that come before a CEO are internal people issues. And what most don't realize who see you in this role is, they know what's going on in their life personally and their challenges, but every single person in a company or an organization has a unique personal challenge in their life, something going on. And as president and CEO, sometimes you know all of those, and you're kind of juggling what's best for multiple individuals who are at different places in their life and what's best for the company. And you have to put the company first while you also highly regard the individual's challenges and situations. And those could be professional career challenges as well as personal challenges. Many of them no one else knows are going on with the person sitting right next from them. So I would say that's a challenge, being able to, be in a role where you can have a perspective that is very, global, looking across the firm, but also individually deal with and support and serve people in the company. And then I think the third thing that I you can't be sitting here in 2023, 24, and having been in a leadership role in 2020 and not, at least acknowledge that COVID brought some significant challenges to everyone, every company, every firm.
I think one thing that COVID definitely did for me, I'm sure there's many out there that this is not the case, and they've probably held this principle for a long time. But the idea of empathy, and I think it goes alongside what you were just discussing there about everyone having their own situation at home. I think COVID allowed me to realize and possibly, kind of look a little bit deeper into everyone's own situation and have that level of empathy there. So absolutely, I couldn't agree more. COVID brought its challenges, but the small silver lining, as I know someone like myself, others as well, do have that more empathetic nature following that couple of years there. And we were just touching on it there. I like the idea of, global perspective, individual support. But as CEO, what principles and strategies have been instrumental in driving your growth and driving your success?
So I would say a couple things. For me personally, it has all centered around communications. That's my background. And so that's a natural strength and inclination for me. So during COVID, for example, I was new in the sole CEO role. One of the things that we did is we implemented a communications program, like an internal engagement program with our staff. And it had multiple facets, right? So everything from what we called our water cooler chats. Every single week, we shuffled up all of our staff and paired people up with someone else across the firm, whatever office they were in, Houston office, Austin, or San Antonio, and you got matched with somebody. You were given a topic of discussion. What was your first car? What was your first job? Something like that, to have a 15-minute virtual conversation with them. This is when we were still all remote. So we were at that level all the way up to a weekly Monday morning Zoom call, Teams call that we had with everyone across the firm to just check in and update everybody on what was going on in the firm, what was going on from a policy or operations standpoint. And we've maintained that program through today. We still have a Monday morning call across all our offices. It's only 15 minutes long now. I don't lead it anymore. Now we have our emerging leaders in the firm who've taken that on and they lead it. We have a mission moment. We do kudos and accolades for individuals. We, pat people on the back for what they're doing. But it was a communications tool to keep us all connected that we've continued. So I think that's been a really great strategy for me. And there were multiple other layers of communication in between: small groups, departmental teams, project teams that met just to check in on each other. And we've continued a number of those things throughout the firm. So I don't know if you were interested in corporate growth strategies that we've had as well, or more personal.
I think both, to be honest. I think that specific example there is it can be across industry, right? I'm sure there are important business critical policies and information that needs to be shared during that catch-up call on a Monday morning, but really it's that sense of camaraderie and team involvement. And we, totally different business, recruitment, do the exact same thing on a Friday afternoon. Sales meeting, everyone gets together for 20-30 minutes, pats on the back, kudos, highlights, and has that team camaraderie. But absolutely, I think from a corporate growth point of view, I'd also be interested, kind of where you've seen that success and how.
Sure. And I have to say, those meetings each week are much better now that they're being led by different members of the staff and different departments each week than they were when everybody had to listen to me every week. So they've evolved, and they're great. And they are a great connector of our people. I would say some things that have really driven the growth and success of O'Connell Robertson. Again, they're rooted in our firm's history, right? We've always been service oriented, but technically strong design and engineering firm. And I think our growth can be attributed to a few specific things: a very strong reputation and relationships over 70 years of continuing business, and then leadership that has been open to growth, right? We've been looking to grow. We've identified individuals who are self-motivated and desire to grow and lead projects, departments, areas of specialization, and have really tried to support that.
Interesting. I think a nice little segue there. How are we supporting that? How are we fostering, especially in a post-COVID era, this digital online world? We're kind of touching on it here in terms of the kind of touch points and the and the camaraderie. But what else do we do that can foster a culture of innovation, creativity, collaboration amongst those in the organization?
Well, that's a great question. And we're studying that one all the time and trying to work on it. And there's always room for improvement. We have a very strong history and reputation of service and integrity. So we've got to be true to that. We have processes and proven practices at O'Connell Robertson. Some could look at us and say, oh, you might be a little staid, or you're a little stuck. But that's not true once you get to know us. Our leadership team is fairly young and very progressive, and we're looking for innovation and creativity within our proven processes. And that's a bit unique. We have architects and MEP engineers here at our firm side by side with the interior designers right there in the middle. And I can tell you, our electrical engineers are getting up and walking over to our interior designers to talk to them about a design solution. Tell me about these lighting fixtures that you're using, because I want to make sure that my stuff is hidden so that your fixtures can really shine, if you will. So we're having that communication all the time, and collaboration is a key to our success in this area at O'Connell Robertson. We have to engage a broad team in project development. We do that through charrettes, through mission-driven project visioning sessions. So project-wise, we're always looking to get more input, engage the young people. 2 years ago, I remember we were kicking off a huge high school project, right? So this is a $150 million, 400,000 square foot high school project. And I walked by the charrette, and we've got some of our summer interns in there. And I'm like, what are they doing in there? And the project manager and the project architect said, hey, we're getting new ideas. They were just in high school. They got all kinds of ideas. But we really try to engage a broad group when we're kicking off a project. In addition to that, that project collaboration, we've implemented a number of cultural engagement activities in recent years. Some of those include a green team and a wellness committee. And we just empowered rising leaders in the firm who take initiative in planning fun and different activities to keep people, thinking and growing professionally and personally. We've done scavenger hunts around the area around our office building at lunch, where we get in teams and they go out and they have to find some local landmarks or certain things and check them off the box. We currently have a really fun internal contest going on. It's happening virtually. It's you go online and you enter this contest, but it's a quiz that was developed from a year-long specifications professional development program by our specifications team. And so they put together a little contest to see who's learned the most. And there's a competition and prizes for participation. So, we're trying to think of things that are fun and different to engage people across disciplines, across offices, in all kinds of ways. And I think all of that contributes to good design, innovation, teamwork, and fun.
Well, I think, I've asked that question a lot of times, and there's often, a lot of talk. I'm not sure anyone is quite walking the walk like you are there. So just a few things to highlight there. I think the piece about those high school students being in the charrette, for anyone who is a junior professional listening, that obviously will speak to O'Connell Robertson's culture, and definitely something to look at there. I also, the idea of having that contest, the wellness group, the green team, actually having those initiatives in place as opposed to just talking about having those initiatives in place. I think that's brilliant. And also, the idea of having an electrical engineer in the same office as an interior designer, whether it be through efficiency of process or the idea of learning through osmosis, I can only imagine what an environment that would be to be involved in. And I think
Absolutely. And we've got a step challenge going on right now, Jakey, that the wellness committee has put on. And I just want you to know, while I'm sitting down talking on the podcast, I'm not getting my steps in. So I'll have to get up and do a lap around the office when we're done here.
Well, and if it's an accumulated step between the group, I hope someone else can be doing the steps whilst you're on here with me.
It's both.
Awesome. I mean, I think all of that, what I'm sensing here is a real sense of camaraderie, and it comes from the head, and I can sense that from you as well. So for those listening, take a look at we'll discuss this at the end as well, but after that point that's just been raised there, take a look at Amy, take a look at O'Connell Robertson. It sounds like a wonderful culture. That now, looking more kind of future vision and looking forward, this area you may not be able to discuss in too much detail, but anything you can share, feel free. What are some kind of primary goals, primary aspirations for O'Connell in the coming years?
Sure, thanks. I can share some things. We're committed to growing the firm, but we want to grow in a positive and balanced way for all staff. We've grown, we've had accelerated growth in the last few years, and firm leaders, our principals, our senior associates, our associate principals, they've been taxed and challenged as much as the staff who are producing, every day on our work by this growth. We've grown fast. We've added a lot of people. That creates some stress on the ability to mentor and support each other, but we're talking about it all the time and trying to, make sure that we're focused on that and we're making time for it. We want to manage the growth as we continue to move forward, have a steady increase in staffing and revenue so that we can support each other as we bring in more and larger, exciting projects across the state of Texas to work on. We want to have time for staff development and mentoring. We have a OR University program that is staff-driven and staff-led that ensures we have not only quality vendor lunch and learns that come in on a regular basis, but also that we have our internal experts who are sharing their knowledge and expertise with their peers in the firm and across discipline. And we even bring in clients to talk to us and share information about what they're looking for in their partners, in their design and engineering partners. So we're focused on growth. We're focused on Texas. We are involved in mostly public work. We do some private development, but our design projects are largely community-driven projects that are supporting education and healthcare. We're really excited to be kicking off in the new year a centralized early childhood center for a large school district in the Central Texas area. We've got one of the largest high schools we've ever designed under construction in a more suburban, fast growth region just south of San Antonio. Really exciting to be a part of the second high school for that community, where you get to help them select a mascot for the first time. So we got a lot of great things going on. We've got a large healthcare project we're kicking off for a healthcare entity in West Texas that we've been working with for 20 years, 25 years. And it's a very highly technical, complex healthcare project that we're doing out there. Our Houston office is growing. We're excited about the opportunities there in higher ed and healthcare and K-12. So lots of things happening. You know, we partner with large national and international design firms on projects. And we also prime our own work. So we're focused on growing, and we're looking at how does our firm internally need to grow in order to support the project growth. So we have emerging leaders that are being identified to lead efforts, to lead departments and divisions. And, at O'Connell Robertson, we're looking for people who want to advance their careers, who want to work collaboratively, and who are looking for purpose-driven work, work that really impacts the people who experience it as they live and learn and serve in the regions that we work.
Interesting. What an exciting time. It sounds like, both inside O'Connell Robertson and then outside as a recruiter who focuses in Texas on higher ed and healthcare. How exciting that growth sounds. You might get an email from me following this at some point.
Great. Send us people.
Absolutely. I think when we share this, that sort of monologue there where you spoke about the type of person that you want, that's definitely something that we'll be sharing. And, I hope those sorts of people listen and get in touch with Amy. In terms of, some advice to professionals in the market, what advice would you, I think this would be an interesting one because you are neither an architect or an engineer, but what advice would you give to an architect, to a junior engineer looking to advance their career in this space?
Oh, thanks for that question. A couple of things. I would say, become very good at what your job or role is right now. I think a lot of times early in a professional's career, they get so focused or interested in the next level up or the promotion, the next opportunity. And it's really important to be good at what you're doing, right? Learn your job and do it as best you can. And then, another important thing wherever you are, work hard to meet the goals identified by your firm that you can support and influence. So whatever your strength is, know your strength, go with your strengths, and use that to help the company be successful. So it's a win-win in that case. And then thirdly, speak up. Use your communication skills in your project role, but also to support firm leaders and firm initiatives, whether that's leading a committee, whether that's volunteering to, speak on one of the staff calls, which we have going on to allow people who maybe don't get to stand up in front of clients and lead projects. They're getting some skills and experience internally. And then that's another thing that I say to all professionals, young professionals thinking about how to, sharpen their own axe, if you will. Get involved in some outside activities. Get involved volunteering at a school or a nonprofit organization where you have the opportunity to lead a committee and gain some skills that you can then bring back into your job role to show that you're prepared to advance and for that next level.
I couldn't agree more with that final point there, whether it be learning, whether it be development, or whether it be just kind of, expanding your network, being involved in outside committees. Again, another point that's across industry. I couldn't agree more. Be involved as much as you can. What I do want to do is not just touch on the professional Amy, also touch on, the personal Amy as well. So outside of work, Amy, what hobbies, what interests do you have that contribute to your overall well-being, your overall creativity, and your work-life balance?
Well, Jakey, I work a lot, and what I like what I do at work, and I have found over the years that my personal, professional, and community hats are all kind of mixed together, right? I wear the same hat a lot. And so I'm really involved in the community in the education space. I volunteer on some education foundations. I've volunteered in schools for years, as my kids were in schools locally and regionally, I was involved there. And sometimes they were even our clients. And so there's overlap with that. I really have a passion for youth and education organizations. I've been a longtime member of the Big Brothers Big Sisters advisory board and a supporter there. I'm on a local foundation board for one of our large hospitals here in town. So I like to be involved in the community. I have a great network of friends and peers. And so I'm very active in some professional organizations, an executive women's forum, where, we talk about not only our professional and business challenges, but even, personal issues happening, family, and do fun things together. Just got back from a trip to Oregon where I did a little wine tasting and attended a couple basketball games. And so that's most likely where you're going to see Amy when she's not at work. She's going to be, eating out in one of the great restaurants in Austin and having a glass of wine, or at a basketball game. Both of my sons have made basketball a part of their life and their career. And so I spend a lot of time in gyms. And I also love to read. So.
Now, whilst we're on that personal touch of this, you can't talk about basketball to someone who loves sport and
Okay.
not get away from that topic. Who's your
Love
team,
it.
Amy?
Who's my team? Oh, well, of course I'm a Longhorn, Texas Longhorns, Hook 'em Horns. And, if you haven't heard, Jakey, over here, Texas is going to the final bowl. We have the opportunity to contend for the national championship game. So we're in the final bowl series coming up. We're in the Sugar Bowl. It's big news. So I'm a Longhorn, went to the University of Texas and very proud of that. And then I've got a son that is a coach at the University of Idaho. So go Vandals. And my other son is a player at a Division III school in Oregon at George Fox. So go Bruins.
Wow. So basketball, so besides, architecture and engineering, that third part of your life is very much wrapped around basketball, it sounds like. And obviously you mentioned that eating out, but basketball sounds like a big factor there.
Very much. We had an opportunity to do some design work, a renovation of the local high school where my sons went and played many sports, and it was just such an honor for the firm to be able to do some work on the campus that we spent many years. So it's really fun to be able to engage with clients and community through work. And we do that a lot at O'Connell Robertson.
I think You can quite clearly see that the passion for what you do in a professional setting spilling into your personal life. And it leads me to my final question about you, Amy. Can you share a memorable or lasting memory from your professional life that's had a big impact on your personal life, or vice versa, something from your personal life that you've taken into your professional life that's had that lasting impact?
Sure. Well, I remember one of the first new schools that we designed when I was with the firm, and we're going way back. And my younger son, I think he was 6, and we designed a new elementary school in a rural district just north of Austin. And I took Josh over there. It was the summer, and so Josh was with me this day, and we stopped in to take some photos of the project. And this was back when I was the marketing director. And, we had designed this really clever library feature that divided part of the book area from the reading nook. And it was these cutout squares and circles. And we hoped that students would, climb in there with a book. And it's the first thing Josh did is he grabbed a book and he climbed in there, and he just kind of sat in the space that our creative and talented architects and designers had developed. And I remember thinking, this is so cool. This is what we hoped would happen. And it did. And it just really solidified for me the opportunity to work at a firm where we were trying to create the built environment that would truly support the communities in which we live and work and learn and play.
What an anecdote to kind of show demonstrable success of what you wanted to achieve there. Not only did you get to see it firsthand, it also happened to be your son that was
Yeah.
the subject and kind of watching it
Yes.
happen. So what wonderful. I think as we come to the end, Amy, we're going to share out this episode in early 2024. What can the listeners do? Anyone who's made it to this point, what can they do to learn a little bit more about you, learn a little bit more about O'Connell Robertson? Where can we direct them, Amy?
Sure. I would love for anybody who's interested in learning more about O'Connell Robertson to reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's a great place to connect. So just look for Amy Jones at O'Connell Robertson on LinkedIn. O'Connell Robertson has a page. So we've got a corporate page. Check that out. It'll tell you what's happening in the firm. We post a lot of information about our clients and our cultural activities, as well as our community engagement just across the board. And certainly check out our website at o'connellrobertson.com. You can see our work there, learn about our people, and learn more about the firm's history as well as our vision for the future.
I think we're definitely going to include all of those links on when we share this episode. So as we come to the end, Amy, I really appreciate your time. I've really enjoyed this discussion. I hope those that have got to the end of the discussion have found it really interesting as well, and they take on board all of those different sorts of lessons. I think the summary there, at least on my end, is there are a lot of people in the market who talk the talk, and I'm not sure there's everyone who walks the walk. And I think from what you're doing in terms of a process, in terms of initiative, both at O'Connell Robertson, but also into how your work life kind of intertwines with your personal life, I think clearly, Amy, you are walking the walk. So I'd hope that anyone who's listened to this does connect with you and follows up. But for now, I really appreciate your time this afternoon, and have a good rest of your day, Amy. Thank you.